Like Algeciras, the port at Tangier has become enormous, and it's quite palaver actually getting through the bloody thing. The other problem is it's actually miles from Tangier, so I had to drive for about another 20 minutes or so before I got back into Tangier, where I checked in at my lovely hotel, the El Minza, where I could actually see Little Car down below parked for the night. I arrived in Morocco on the 1st of December 2022, the day they beat a team in the World Cup, and I bought a couple of t-shirts for me and my friend who looks rather like a member of the team, and we wore them all the way through Morocco's fantastic run. I actually like being in Marrakech because the sun nearly always shines when I'm there. It's gorgeous.
Ooga Chagga Ooga 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 Chagga Ooga 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 Chagga Ooga 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 Chagga Ooga Ooga. I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. What kind of feeling? High on believing that you're in love with me. Lips are sweet as candy, the taste stays on my mind. Girl, you keep me thirsty for another cup of wine. I've got it bad for you, girl, but I don't need a cure. I'll just stay addicted and hope I can endure all the good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, girl, yeah, you turn me on. What kind of feeling? I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. All the good love when we're all alone. Keep it up, girl, yeah, you turn me on. What kind of feeling? I'm high on believing that you're in love with me. What kind of feeling? High on believing that you're in love with me. What kind of feeling? I'm high on believing that you're in love with me.
Marrakech is a fabulous city, and as we drive around it, seeing the Koutoubia at the end of the road, and the fountains, and the fabulous pink walls surrounding the entire city, I've had a few requests from people who want to know more about my wrongful conviction back in the year 2001. I'd had a lot of success in the last century in the world of music, and at the end of the decade was closely involved with two big hits, Who Let the Dogs Out and I Get Knocked Down But I Get Up Again. both of which sold over 16 million copies globally and made a lot of money for a lot of companies, including EMI, the biggest British music corporation. I'd also had success reviving the Brits, the equivalent of the Grammys, as writer, producer and once even host, and also winning Eurovision as producer for the United Kingdom. So in 2000, I was approached by the boss of EMI, Eric Nicolai, to become global chairman of the company at an annual salary of around £5 million, which was a lot of money in those days, with a 5-year firm contract extended to 10 years if I so chose at the end of the first 5 years. Some of the people at the very top of EMI were absolutely useless, especially in America, and they became well aware that I fully intended to fire them when I took over. Now, this part is only conjecture. I can't be certain. It happened in the middle of the year 2000 after everything was agreed with EMI. But I've heard that someone contacted notorious publicist Max Clifford, who had problems of his own a few years later, and strongly suggested to him that he might find a way to, shall we say, stop me getting the top job. Anyway, a Clifford client, Kirk McIntyre, I can use his name as he bravely waived his anonymity in return for a large sum of money from the Sun newspaper, went to Surrey Police with claims about incidents that had never happened 40 years earlier. As it happened, his claims were dismissed years later, and I was declared not guilty of all of them. But at the time, all the publicity about my arrest provoked other false claims. I'll tell you more about what happened then, 22 years ago, later on. In the meantime, we're looking at Marrakech and those fabulous pink walls as we drive around the city, me and my trusty steed, the Rolls-Royce. Days of Morocco being a third world country have long gone, and I've watched it change over the past 60 years since I've been coming here. Property prices here in Marrakech now are equal to London, Paris or New York, and so are the facilities with luxury hotels galore. I always used to stay in the Esadi Hotel. Now I stay in the Movenpick. Both are gorgeous. Both look absolutely fantastic and luxurious. I've driven around Marrakech for about 60 years, but not in the Rolls-Royce for about the last 20 or 30 years. It's just got too difficult to bring the Rolls down here to Morocco. So I usually arrive by plane somewhere and then have a hire car and drive around in that. But it makes a rather nice change to be back here in the Rolls, which feels very much at home in good old Marrakech. At Christmas, for a Muslim country, they get very, very Christian, and there are trees everywhere. I remember back in, I think, 1975, the first Christmas tree near Saadi was this marvellous example of baubles. And they also have in their extension, which is much grander, the palace, the most enormous tree now. But there are trees everywhere in all the other hotels, including the legendary Mamounia Hotel, which recently won the award for being the best hotel in the world. I've been coming here and using it as my winter office for years. Winston Churchill used to paint here and called the gardens the most beautiful place in the world. I can't afford to stay here these days, but I'm here a lot, and in many ways it feels like home. Back to my strange experiences 20 years ago. I was wrongly convicted and then given a sentence of 7 years, of which I served only half. Unheard of if you didn't do the courses, which I couldn't, being innocent and not prepared to admit guilt for crimes that had never even taken place. But I learned a lot. Number one, do not depend on lawyers. I spent all my savings, about £1 million. Do everything yourself. 2, the false allegations industry is exploding, often assisted by police and bent lawyers. 3, prison is great if your main joy in life, as mine is cheering up the deeply depressed people. There are an awful lot of those in prison. I was able not only to cheer them up, but I got 12 different people released on appeal from prison when I looked at their depths, the papers in which all the cases against them were made that they'd been found guilty of, and spotted all kinds of flaws. They were deeply delighted, but one kept saying to me, "Jonathan, why are you so brilliant at getting other people released when you can't do it for yourself?" And I had to answer, I really don't know. I was lucky enough to get 2 more bites at the miscarriage of justice cherry, and in both of them I made the system choke on the stone. One a few weeks after the first trial in 2001, and then again in 2018. In both cases, I was found not guilty and acquitted. I'm still fighting my first wrongful conviction from 21 years ago. The legal system, especially the CCRC, the Criminal Case Commission, goes very, very slowly indeed. I have no regrets and have had a very happy subsequent life, writing novels, making films and videos, travelling, cooking and finding love. But I am sad that by removing me from the music industry, it has essentially died. One of my plans for EMI was to develop a radio and TV online station, basically YouTube, and sales, basically iTunes. Others got there after me. The story of my life, really. I fear we may never again see real crossover mass appeal stars. We have seen Ed Sheeran and Adele and others like that, but many fewer than in the 60s and the 70s, which I loved, of course. Anyway, as I said, it's Christmas 2022, and I've made another seasonal record, a tribute to our late great Queen Elizabeth II. This tune adapts a 100-year-old hymn. I've written new words for it. It features singing emojis, amongst others, would you believe? And is by the Royal Choir, though in fact, as you may well hear when you listen to it, it features an awful lot of the voices of Jonathan King.
Great is your faithfulness, O God my Father. There is no shadow of turning with thee. Thou changest not, your compassions they fail not. As you have been, you forever will be. Great is your tenderness, great is your gentleness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, your hand has provided. Great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
Winners and sinners, abused and abusers, killers and losers can all deserve now. Christians and Moonies and Muslims and loonies, atheists, holy men, equal above.
Great is your tenderness, great is your gentleness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, your hand has provided. Great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me.
Pardon for sin and the truth that endureth, thine own dear presence to cheer and to guide, strength for today and bright hope for tomorrow, blessings all mine with 10,000 beside. Great is your tenderness, great is your gentleness. Morning by morning, new mercies I see. All I have needed, your hand has provided. Great is your faithfulness, great is your faithfulness, great is your faithfulness, Lord, unto me. As you can guess, being December 2022, most of Morocco was celebrating almost all month with the victory for the country in the World Cup right the way through to the semi-finals. Despite Morocco now being a first world country, there is still a huge gap between the very wealthy and the not so wealthy. Right next to one of the king's palaces in Marrakech are slums. I have to say, some of the little shacks appear to be quite well appointed. They've all got satellite dishes on the roof. Do they still have satellite dishes in this day and age of technology? The Royal Palace, which is absolutely magnificent, is surrounded by these solid pink walls and people bicycling past, enjoying themselves and having fun. I do notice that in the little alleyways next to the palace walls are these tiny little hovels, probably occupied, I suspect, by people who work in the palace and their families. Everybody here seems highly amused to see a Rolls-Royce cruising by, and I suspect many of them think I belong to the Moroccan royal family. I have to correct them and say, no, I'm not the King of Morocco, but I am a King of England. Excuse me if I talk with my mouth full. Well, that's the end of our show about Marrakech, but there is so much to see and talk about in Marrakech that I suspect an entire other show is immediately demanded. So watch out for A Victim Bites Back, show number 4, which will hopefully be even more of lovely Marrakech before we move on. These, of course, are some of the citizens of Marrakech. You'll notice the camels appear to be enjoying themselves, having a delicious lunch of what looks rather like coriander, but I doubt if it is. Anyway, I'll see you next week or next time that we have a Victim Bites Back Mark 4. Ow!